Did John bring his dinosaur of a laptop to Denver or what?
No,
Jesus.
no, it's been booting up for like 5 minutes at least.
I'm sure there's about five updates that John has to do, and then he has to restart after each update.
Frustrating thing is he probably brought the ancient like laptop that's like 15 years old, and he has a brand new laptop at home that he just did not use.
It's under the pile of vacuums.
Welcome back to everyone to the Track Packers podcast for episode 15 of season 3. We are a little helter-skelter right now, but that's pretty much the normal nowadays, especially with the way the racing season's gone. We're back with myself, Mason, and the Pelkeys, Jessup, and Miss Becca Pelkey, who will appear on screen here in just a very short moment. Hey, Becca. Who knows? We're gonna have John Breckel. I believe he will make an appearance at some point, as he's out of state for this week. But he did say he would make an appearance on the podcast. So we hope that he'll be able to join us at the tail of the field for this episode. In the meantime, we have to thank our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness, and congratulate our good friend Tyler Hall for getting his first win of the season this past weekend at the Buffalo River Speedway. So great job. You joined the list of sponsors winning from the podcast. So great to make that trifecta for the season. Be sure to head over to hitchharness.com and check out the products they have, including this specifically designed, safe, and efficient receiver hitch storage hitch harness. You can pick whatever style you want, pick a different color selection if you'd like as well, and also check out some of the products, including chassis dollies, pull bar brackets, so much more. Even get some swag if you already own any of the hitch harness products. And so thank you, Tyler, for supporting us on the podcast. So
Mason,
what's that?
Mason, this might be a good time for a shameless little plug for the podcast. Now, drivers, if you want to be a winner, just like our sponsors are, feel free to get a hold of Mason and try to figure out a different way you can sponsor the show, because literally by sponsoring our show, it is paying dividends for these drivers.
They are finding victory lane.
Yep.
Can't argue
Where
with
do
that.
I lie, Mason? Where do I lie?
No lies detected. Well, as far as the lineup goes, thankfully I didn't have to change anything because Jessup's on the pole. I'm second. I would have been third, but John's not here. Becca's rejoined the field once again. So that is the lineup for this episode. So, Jessup, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. All things considered, we've had a lot going on in the Pelkey household, but we're doing good.
Yeah, I've heard it's been very busy. Miss Becca, what have you been up to?
Um, Lots of house projects. So I was actually pretty okay that Mother Nature kind of washed out the weekend for us. I didn't plan to be at a racetrack on Saturday anyways because we were having a baby shower for baby Pelkey. So I wasn't planning to be at the racetrack on Saturday, but I wasn't really paying attention to the weather last week, and I was always surprised that it rained on Friday and canceled the races at Dakota Speedway, which was perfectly fine with me. We had family come to town, and as soon as Jessup got home and the family flew in, we started house projects. We ripped out the closet system downstairs in the office and built Jessup a brand new closet for all of his clothes. And then we started priming and painting the baby's room. And God bless the painting crew, because after we put a coat of pink paint on the wall and it dried, I was like, oh gosh, this is too pink, too bold, too much. So I went back to Menards and I bought new paint, and we reprimed and we repainted, and it was quite a weekend. So, and then we had a baby shower on top of it all. So, baby Pelkey is very blessed, and in about 10 to 11 weeks, we could have a baby. So, which is kind of crazy because baby's supposed to come right around invitational season. So, the end of summer is not far away. So if you haven't been to a racetrack either as a fan or as a driver and you haven't had a chance to travel, time is running out. So highly encourage you guys to all hit up the racetracks real soon.
I want this to be known. While baby Pelkey is making adjustments to my invitational season, I will still be hitting numerous invitationals.
So would you consider the baby more of an invitation for racing this year, considering it's during invitational season?
No, it's not an invitation. It's like a cock block for racing.
My other question I
Wow.
had is, how can your room be too pink, Becca?
Oh, it was very prominent, Mason.
Because pink's my favorite color, so I'm like, you can't ever have too much pink, but
Think of Corey Stork's dark pink, right, on his car this year.
okay.
That was the whole room.
All right. Yeah, I could.
It
You would
was
have had
too
to do some massive lighting.
it
Would
Yeah.
work.
We couldn't just do one wall. Becca wanted all the walls to see what it would look like. So I got to paint with the help of my mother all the walls, and then reprime all the walls, and then repaint all the walls.
God bless my family. Yeah, but yeah, it was too pink and it looked really good on paper when we were at Menards. And I was like, oh, this is so cute. It's going to look so good. No, it was too much. So I went back to Menards and found a different color, and it's a much better fit.
Mason,
Yes.
I would also, not that it matters because realistically, I'm just happy that Becca's happy with the room. I want it to be known that I did mention to Becca before we made the final decision on the first color of pink. I was like, you sure this is the one that you want? Because this seems a little dark and aggressive. Which Becca said, this is perfect.
That wasn't the exact conversation, but yeah, let's go with that. Yeah,
Well,
we
the
can.
thing is, I can picture Becca being like that. This is just going to be great. It's just Becca being all optimistic and then like, yeah, we may need to change it up a little bit. Well, anyways, sounds like you guys had a busy weekend, even if there was not much racing to be had. I managed to get to 3 nights of racing. I was very frustrated on Saturday.
Tell me about Saturday. I want to hear all
Yes,
about it.
Ethan, I want to hear about Saturday.
No, I'm done with Saturday. I've moved on. My level of
No,
annoyance
what
cannot be
happened?
measured on Saturday.
What happened?
I waited until the very last minute to venture out to a racetrack, only to get there and it start raining 10 minutes later.
And how long of a drive was it for you?
3.5 hours.
And what was the percentage of rain prior to you leaving your house to when you got there?
So it was changing every like 15 minutes. And so like Ogilvy was going to try to make a call. I was going on my way to Ogilvy. They were supposed to make a call at 3 o'clock, and at that point they really hadn't gotten anything. And even when I got to the track, like the track looked really good. It was in really good condition. So they were actually going to start doing hot laps. And yeah, just one cloud came over and started raining pretty significantly, and that's all it took. What do you do?
Interesting. Go to a different track that Mason's not at.
There was none to be had in the state of Minnesota, so that was pretty much it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So out of frustration, I drove all the way back to Fargo because I was not about to spend the night in a crappy hotel.
They have some nice hotels over there.
Yeah, there's a few hotel openings, but there's like a bunch of baseball tournaments going on around St.
Oh,
Cloud. So I'm like, I'm just forget. I'm going home.
yeah,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, so that was a frustrating part of the weekend, but otherwise we did get a good amount of racing in and ended on a good note. So I'm happy about that. And so be sure, if you're not following the Track Packers podcast, to give us a like and follow, especially with a lot of big racing coming up. Our schedules may be a little bit helter-skelter just because of all the midweek racing that's going to be taking place over the next few weeks. But be sure to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, Google, or Apple if you so enjoy our content from week to week. Listener shout out, we'll kind of go over that later on in this show. It's kind of been a crazy week. We do want to send our best wishes and thoughts and prayers to the Minske family. Losing Nick Minske this last weekend, very unfortunate situation there, and definitely want to send our prayers up towards the racing family up in Grand Forks, and of course the immediate family and friends. And also a lot of rough weather taking place around our region, especially in South Dakota. There's been a lot of flooding going on. I've been seeing some posts from racetracks that are underwater. So definitely a rough week for a lot of people.
Yeah. If you're in South Dakota and Iowa and our friends down in southeast Minnesota, the T's and P's are being sent your way, and racing is important to us, but on the grand scale of life, it's not that big of a deal. And you guys get yourselves situated and make sure everyone's safe, and worry about that racing thing later.
Yeah, a lot more important things than racing, and hope everyone is able to get back on their feet and get back to normal living. Because I know some people are kind of like displaced right now just because of all the flooding that's going on. So hopefully Mother Nature kind of gives us a break over these next few weeks so we can kind of get back to a little sense of normalcy. But with that,
Normal.
Yeah, normal. That's an interesting word these days. We'll officially start episode 15 with the waving of the green flag and getting right into who or what are you repping. Jessup, who or what are you repping?
Well, I'm repping a Chris Pittenger shirt this weekend.
I'm sorry, that's a little egregious, even though you corrected yourself.
I got myself caught back into going.
I'm sorry, dude.
I
Continue.
think you need to start from the
No,
top.
I want to start over.
Go for it.
As I'm still waving my what are we doing, Mason?
We're doing who or what are we repping?
Well, I'm repping a Chris Pittenger t-shirt. Very nice black t-shirts go very good with my skin tone at this point of the year because it matches me and I like it.
You do rock black shirts pretty well.
It's because I'm oddly tan in the summer. Like this will sound bad, but my students, or I've had students in the past where I teach, and they compare our skin tones, and it makes me laugh that I'm darker than them.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't really burn. I go into a super dark tan, which goes really well with black t-shirts, especially black racing t-shirts.
Well, you do spend a lot of time outside, whether it's at the racetrack or if you take your pup Gordy out for the W. I know that's a lot of time outside as well.
He's sleeping, so you're fine.
About an hour walk every day, Mason.
Wow. That's a lot of walking.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We get a couple miles out of the way, and he gets to sniff and do whatever dog business he has to do. And I just take in the world and see what the world has to offer.
Well, there you go. Cool shirt of Chris Pittenger. Becca, who or what are you repping?
So I know I wasn't on last week's podcast, but I still watch those episodes that I'm not on because I have to know what terrible things John says when I'm not around. So I know he gave a very nice plug for the 35th annual Dakota Classic Modified Tour. And I'm also going to give a nice plug to the 35th annual Dakota Classic Modified Tour because registration is open and the tour is right around the corner. That starts on July 6th over at the Jamestown Speedway. It's going to travel up to the Noatak Speedway on the 7th, Estevan Motor Speedway on the 8th, Williston Basin Speedway on the 9th,
Southwest Speedway on the 10th, and wrap up with championship night at the Dakota Speedway on Thursday, July 11th. So 6 great days of racing right here in our backyard. As John alluded to last week, a lot of big names have signed up, but you know what? I think sometimes we always forget about the local talent we have right here in our backyard, and we have some fantastic and very talented and very fast race car drivers right here in North Dakota, Minnesota, and Canada. So I know that our local boys can compete and run up front and compete for wins and championships in both the stock car and IMCA modified division. So I would love to see a lot of our local drivers who haven't already signed up for the tour do so and defend our turf right here in North Dakota and Canada. So I know it's been a couple of years since the North Dakota drivers won the the IMCA modified division championship. The last North Dakota driver to do it was Austin Arneson in 2020. So it's been a couple of years. Let's see if one of our local boys can take home the title here and defend our turf right here in North Dakota this year, maybe, fingers crossed. Obviously Rob Van Mill and Trent Greger have done a really nice job representing the stock car division and representing the talents right here in North Dakota. And hopefully one of those boys or one of our other local stock car drivers can do it again this year. But I am repping a 4-time champion of the Dakota Classic Modified Tour, Hank Berry. So this is one of Hank Berry's most recent shirts. Unfortunately, it's kind of on sad terms because it was this T-shirt was made for after he lost his daughter Caitlin a few years back, way too soon. And he actually did a really nice wrap a few years back in her memory. So this T-shirt corresponds with the wrap from a few years ago in her memory, and may she rest in peace, obviously. But repping our 4-time champion, Hank Berry. So hope he hasn't signed up just yet, but he hasn't missed a single year on the Dakota Classic Modified Tour. I don't think this year will be any different. He just hasn't signed up yet. So fingers crossed, his registration will come through any day, any week now, and he'll be back on the tour. And he's always a fan favorite no matter where he goes. So we'll hope to see Hank Berry on the 35th Annual Dakota Classic Modified Tour.
There you go. Yeah, I know he's been racing a few times this year, so I think we'll see him at least a few times on the tour, or at least I hope so. Has he raced was he at the Ironman?
Yes, and he made the show, so.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw he was on the list there. So yeah, that'd be always a really tough competitor, no matter how old he is. I didn't realize that he's made every single year. That's actually a pretty cool fact.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the only one to do that? Do you know?
I believe so. Marlon Stadler was running up there right with him, but Marlon races a race or two on the tour these days. He doesn't race the whole tour like Hank does, and I think that's where that stat is sticking with Hank, is he actually races the whole tour. So
Gotcha.
we'll see what Hank does this year. I mean, he can do whatever the heck he wants, but hope to see Hank on tour.
Well, that's actually a really nice looking shirt, even if it's on sad terms. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I got a whole bunch of different gear to rep for this week's episode. Repping the Bam Bam is his nickname, Brenner Gridstead, IMCA hobby stock driver out of Stanley, repping his hat this week. I should have repped it last week when he won off on his 21st birthday, but he's actually been stacking wins as of late, so he's got some good momentum heading on in the middle part of the season. New koozie, got a koozie last week at Alexandria. That's Bailey Roche. He drives a super stock out of that area, and so I've got the new koozie. And then also on the shirt is another number 28. It's Tommy the Tank Nichols out of Watertown, South Dakota. This is a shirt from, I believe it's 2021 or 2022. So a couple years old. He had just got a feature win, not this past weekend, but the weekend before down at Watertown. And so he's starting to get some good momentum. He's kind of had an up and down year, if you ask him. And so hopefully, I know he's going out to Sheridan this upcoming week, which we talked about a lot in the Western Roundup, for a lot of money on the line. And so be sure to stay tuned on that out in Sheridan, Wyoming, because there's a lot of money online for the WISSOTA Midwest Modifieds. So that is who or what we are repping for this episode. And we transition into our hot sauce, hot memory rewind, and give a shout out to our good friend Issac Hot Sauce Sondrol on the 12S IMCA Modified, who also has a feature win this year. Be sure to stop over in the Sondrol pits and get ready for the Sondrol Snack Shack to go on tour. as they have a lot of goodies on hand, and I think they have the schedule all laid out. So that's definitely going to be a hot spot to check out on the tour. And he's also a really nice guy to talk to. So definitely go say hi to Isaac, and thank you for supporting us on the podcast. Well, now that Mr. Responsible is ready, as I was just told, coming out of a red flag situation, he is now ready for the hot sauce, hot memory rewind. So what do you got for us today, Jessup?
Well, Mason, I have a very specific and easy task for you and Becca. One might be a little challenging, but most of these should be pretty feasible for you, my smart race historians, as I will call you guys. You know the rules, Mason. Name the year and the drivers. That's it. All the photos should be from the same year. And here we go. You ready?
Ready.
Number 1. It has the name right on it.
I'm guessing that's his last name is Byholm.
Yes, very good.
I don't think it's Tanner Byholm.
No.
I don't know any other Byholms though.
Well, that is none other than Mr. Billy Byholm.
Never heard of him.
He's from the Ashland area.
Because I know
Also,
they have like a Tanner Byholm memorial race or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Ready for number 2? You should get this one, Mason. Ha.
Oh, that's Brown County Speedway in the background. So who's a 5 down there? Oof, John would be very disappointed right now. Do you got a hint?
We talked about him earlier tonight.
Oh, Kirchhoff. Eddie Kirchhoff?
Which one?
Eddie or Ed? It's Ed.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
It's Eddie Kirchhoff. Very
Okay.
good. Ready for number 3? You won't get this one.
Watch, this is the one I actually will get.
From the Wisconsin area.
9.
Not-
Does he still race?
Yeah, as of last year, he was still racing.
Does he race late
Sporadically.
model or super stock?
Late model. Steve Eisenberg.
No, I would not have guessed that.
Okay, well, Becca, now this is your time to shine.
the 11T.
Yep.
Is this a local driver from like here in North Dakota?
Yes.
I mean, I have a guess, but the T is throwing me off.
Yeah,
Who do you think it is, Mason?
It's Paul Mueller.
I think it's Paul Mueller because of the Dan Supermarket logo on the front. And
that it says Mueller on the car.
well, I can't see that. You kept moving it.
Why is there a T on it? I'm wondering.
I have no idea. Last but not least,
Hample?
Darren Murado.
what was that, Becca?
Darren,
Ted Hample? Or Hample, 36 from Montana.
That's one. Well, that's one half of it, and the location.
Kelly
Which
Hample.
Hample?
Kelly,
Very
thank you.
good, Mason. And then the final
Come
question
on.
you all have to address now: what year were these cars photoed?
That last one's throwing me off because otherwise the Paul Mueller one I sort of recognized. I'll guess 2001.
This is
Okay,
probably
your turn.
before my racing time. I don't know.
2003.
Okay. I was thinking, yeah, around that.
You were
range.
close. You
It's
were
close.
close.
Maybe
People.
I think I have an easy one for you two. I only have one other one, but let's I'll share my screen here. Who do we
Who
got?
is 19? Do they still race hobby stocks?
They do not.
The
Carter?
Road Grant auction service makes me want to think this could be an early Lucas Rodin.
Oh. Yeah. I'm going with
Yes.
Becca.
It is.
Good job, Becca.
It is Lucas
Hey!
Rodin.
And what mall is that at?
That is at the Buffalo Mall in Jamestown.
Oh, neat.
I
I've
believe
never been there. Is that still open?
Yes, it is.
Why
I've been
haven't you
pretty
taken
sure
me
it
there?
I've
is.
been there.
Trying to see, does it have a year on it? Oh, it does have a year. Do you have a guess on what year that might be?
What
I wanna
division was that
say-
car, Mason?
That was a bomber.
Oh, that doesn't help me.
Seen this in my Stampede notes because he's a Stampede champion, or is he a track champion in the Bombers at Jamestown? Either way, I want to say it's like 2009, 2010.
Your first number was right.
I'm going to say 2009, Mason.
Well, Becca got it before you did.
She double guessed.
Well, that is our hot sauce hot memory rewind. I don't know. John would probably be very disappointed in us.
Probably, and I'm sure I got a yellow flag somewhere in that segment.
Yeah, he's apparently on his way to the hotel, so he might make an appearance towards the latter part of our
Great.
track
Next
pack report.
segment.
Hurry, Mason. We can
Done.
finish this before he gets here.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll move on into the
We're
track.
joking. We're joking. We can go real slow.
Oh, don't worry. We'll move to the track pack report, and we'll go right to the Bismarck gang. What racing did you attend in person this weekend?
Wow, let me tell you, Mason. None.
Wow. Very
These are
skillful.
busy.
At least you kept yourselves busy. That is true.
Ooh.
Of course, you didn't have much for options, to be honest.
I didn't have a say. Becca kind of demanded that I did things with her.
See, I think you should have. Well, I'll touch on it in my track pack report, but I can't believe on Friday you didn't stop by River Cities because that was a Jessup type race. 2 classes,
Sprint cars? I know, that's what I like.
sprint cars
Sprint cars.
and B mods. Mr. B mods packed the track. Those is 2 classes,
Close.
and we were pretty much done before 9 o'clock.
I do feel bad for Jessup because he did leave Minnesota at like what 7 a.m., 8 a.m. to
Yep.
be back in time. Had we would have raced at Dakota Speedway, and they canceled the races about a half hour before he got home.
Oof. Well, at least you had a short drive to your house from that point, unlike me on Saturday, who had 3.5 hours to think about that.
That's called making poor life choices, Mason.
Hey, we all do it at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll kind of quickly go through my recap because it's not a ton because the racing this weekend was like pretty sparse and didn't have too much going on, and with it being a fair weekend at a lot of the racetracks, they actually kind of slimmed down their programs quite a bit, and so which is nice because the tracks kind of want to get fans out of the stands and onto the fair, so that way they can experience all the rides and all the food. So I did have a good amount of fair food myself, especially at Norman County. Has this really good pork loin sandwich, super tasty. Definitely would recommend.
I would go over there, but Becca's making me not go over there on Saturday.
Oh, oof.
Not my fault.
Actually, technically it is.
Our friends are throwing us a diaper and keg party. So if you come to our party that our friends are throwing for us with a pack of diapers, you can drink all the keg beer that you would like all afternoon and evening on Saturdays. So I can't help it that our friends love us and want to throw this party for us. And I chose this particular weekend because I knew Jamestown Speedway was not racing. And I thought it'd be the perfect weekend to do this. Well, now Jessup texted me this morning, would you be upset if I played in the McQuaid softball tournament this weekend? And I said, yes, our friends are throwing us a party. You should probably be there because this party is primarily.
I was only joking. I just wanted to see how high your blood pressure would go.
And I got home from the gym earlier this evening, and we're sitting out on the deck because he made this delicious, tasty virgin margarita cocktail. It was really good. And he proceeded to tell me that he wanted to go to, where did you want to go this weekend for racing?
The track we're just talking about with the
Oh,
very
okay.
tasty pork loin sandwich.
Oh, gotcha. Well, and then I told him, no, we should probably be at this party that our friends are throwing for us. So,
I'm a man of the people.
I can't
I
help it.
sacrifice for my peoples. I sacrifice without having a say for the peoples.
Well,
I feel like there's
I'll be sure to send plenty of pictures because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be end up at Norman County on Saturday. So I'll send plenty
Gee,
of
what a
pictures.
shock.
At first, I wasn't just because I usually
That would be the most Mason thing to do. Now, race fans, as we're kind of stalling for John, but race fans, if there is a special at your track, 9 out of 10 times Mason will forego going to the closer special, and he'll travel an extra 2 hours to go to a random regular show night that is racing against all the special, like the other tracks around it, special events. So they'll only get like 6 or 7 cars per class.
Well, see, there was a reasoning behind it because this is kind of like my first weekend where I kind of have like a very loose schedule. I don't really have any obligations. So it's like an opportunity for me to kind of go out to a track that I probably won't get to like for who knows how long. So that's why it's kind of like I wasn't 100% sure. I'm like 95% sure I'm going to be in Ada this weekend.
You know, Mason had the same situation a few years back where he could have went to a track he'd never been to, and it was holding a special event known as the Silver 1000. And Mason went to a weekly show at KRA.
I'm just checking the weather for this
And
weekend.
there was only
I
4
also
cars
had to
in one
work that
class.
next morning, and I really couldn't get out of it.
You could have worked on your laptop.
It would have been very challenging with the work I was doing that weekend to do that.
Wow, the weather actually looks decent this weekend. We'll see what actually happens. I know Mason shows up to a racetrack and a cloud will downpour and our races get
I would
canceled.
really like it if Mason went to insert track that is running just a weekly regular show. That way, that track gets rained out versus Ada and Norman County when they're hosting the World of Outlaws.
Just re-asking, how many races did you guys get to this weekend?
How many walls did I paint this weekend? The same number that
You
you
did not
got
answer
to
my
races.
question, sir.
I just answered.
Actually, even a better question. How many races have you each been to this year?
I don't know.
A lot.
I believe, if I counted correctly, I believe you each have been to 9 races so far.
All right. All right, buddy. You want to play games? We'll play games about number of races you saw this weekend. Now, if Mason may have the upper hand on actual being in person, against my will, I was held hostage and was unable to attend anything this weekend. However, I will say I probably watched more races than you did this weekend.
That is probably a true statement.
So, where I watched the Maverick and the IRA sprint car races this week at all 4 locations. They were at Tri-State, Terre Haute, and then Bloomington, and then one other track. And then let's see, I watched any of the races that were still going on for Wissota. So you just start adding those in, Mason. Add them in, buddy.
To be fair, I watched. To be fair, I watched Esteban Motor Speedway and Nodex Speedway.
I also did that. I also watched
Guess who
Brown
did not
County
get to
and
do that?
I-94 and
Guess who did not get to
Mercedes
do
Saturday.
that? Me. Because Becca took my pass and blocked me out on those races.
You
Good
can
job,
also
Becca. I'm
go
proud of you.
in and kick me out. So
I love you, and you are pregnant. I
mean,
would
I
never
want
do that to you
Yeah.
because I would get nagged into oblivion.
you can always log in and kick me out. It's not a big deal.
Why would I want to do that? Because you'll come power stomping out into the living room. I was watching that.
Well,
She
Jess
won't
is
do
watching
that.
like
She's
four
actually
different.
she's really nice about it, so she wouldn't do that.
I don't know how
Yeah.
Becca keeps track, considering you watch on like 4 different devices. You have like two different laptops, a TV, and your phone that you're watching stuff on.
And while we're talking about things, races, how did you guys do in NASCAR fantasy this week?
Honestly, I have not checked.
Let us pull up.
Are we really stalling for John? I
I
mean,
was
A
actually
little
going to
bit.
get my
Like,
track packer
okay.
report done because he also did not get into any races this week.
All right,
Mason,
get
start your track
talking,
record.
Mason.
Alrighty. So now that we've stalled enough for John, and who knows when he'll show up, my weekend started over at Norman County Raceway for the Norman County Fair. Big ticket on hand was the Kingpin Clash for the IMCA Stock Cars and the Rebel Mod Tour for the Midwest Modifieds. And they had a pretty good showing in both of those two classes, along with NX Legends, Race Saver Sprints, and IMCA Hobby Stocks. Legends had a solid field there, where Ty Wilkie got the feature win there, and had a few shenanigans throughout the race with some cautions and some restart mishaps, but he held off all the challenges, and he's had some rough luck in the Legend as of late, so it was nice to see him get back into victory lane in the 72 machine. He also doubled up in the Race Saver Sprints after Andy Paik, who was leading the race, got a little too high and spun out of the lead with just a few laps to go, and so Ty Wilkie was able to take advantage of that and cruise on to winning 2 features in the same night. IMCA Hobby Stocks went to the 13C at Chase Peterson from Malacca, Minnesota. That race got shortened because one by one, cars just fell out with mechanical troubles or whatever you name it. So I think they started with 8 and I think ended with 4. So a little bit of attrition going on. And so that was the Hobby Stocks. Says, Jess, if your screen is too bright, I can't even see what you're even trying to show.
Trying to show that he won the fantasy NASCAR points on Sunday.
Oh, good job. I'm so proud of you.
Mason, you gave a valiant effort and came home second.
I think I had a pretty good lineup, if I remember correctly.
You did
Mason.
until you didn't.
Sorry, Becca. Blame your husband.
Oh. So, anyways,
Stock
Becca,
cars.
congratulations on being second in the league right now. You're over 200 points behind.
Anyways, continuing on with the track packer report. Stock car Kingpin Clash. That's always a fun event over at Norman County. They race for a cool bowling pin. And so that's definitely one of the prestigious awards here in the Red River Valley for stock cars. Very good battle between Johnny Carter, a rookie in the stock car division, and Rob Van Mill. Johnny was running up high and Van Mill was kind of running down low. And it was kind of a cat and mouse game. One would nail one lap, one would kind of poke out in front of the other. And ultimately, Rob Van Mill got around Johnny with just a couple laps to go to get another big win in the IMCA stock cars. And so very good battle, good showing by Johnny Carter. I know he's only got a handful of races under his belt. And so it was nice to see him have a good solid run as well. And the Midwest Mods finished off the night with the Rebel Mod Tour, where Justin Jones led the field to green, and he looked to have the race well in control. But of course, you got to watch out for the Nightmare Lucas Rodin as usual. Kind of tracked him down on the bottom. Justin was kind of slipping up just a little bit. He was saying in victory lane, probably need to drive a little bit harder. He was probably driving too timid. And Lucas got around him late in that race as well. So Lucas Rodin got another Rebel Mod Tour win. Justin Jones ended up second, and Matt Scow was third. So that was your Thursday night over at Norman County Raceway. The Rebel Mod Tour then went up to the River City Speedway for their showing. They had actually, for 2 classes, very good field of cars. 24 Midwest Mods and 26 sprint cars. Now, I know a few of those are some of the Race Saver 305s, but still very cool to see 26 sprint cars there. And it was the Greater Grand Forks Fair. So they had like 3 nights of racing this week, and this was their first one. Weather was a factor. We had weather that was forecasted to arrive around 8:30. So they were pretty much going to try to push the show through as much as they could. They also had a makeup feature for the Midwest Mods. They kind of stuck at the end of the program. So they went through all the heats of Midwest Mods, sprint cars. We were doing the redraw in the pits, got that done. And they pretty much gave us the 5-minute warning, hey, Midwest Mods lineup. So a lot of those drivers had maybe 20 minutes, if that, to like kind of get everything ready from the heat to the A main. And of course, a couple had misfortunes. And so it was a mad scramble to kind of get everyone out there, but everyone made it out for the feature. And so they were able to get that race in, had some sprinkles throughout points of the track, which made it a little bit greasy at times. But they did get all 25 laps in. with Jamie Dietzler leading the majority of that race. Lance Schill was breathing down his neck. It took a late race restart where he went 3 wide along with Matt Scow, and both Scow and Dietzler split, or Scow and Schill split Dietzler in 1 and 2, and then Schill ended up with the feature win in front of Scow, and Dietzler, who was actually having a right front tire go flat on him, hung on for 3rd. So that was your top 3 in the Midwest Mods. And anything else of sprint cars? Who do you think won that feature race?
Bet it was a 13.
You would be correct, sir. It was Mark Dahmeyer, although he had a very good challenge from Gage Polkabreck, and he's actually been putting together some really good runs. Like, they were going through lap traffic, and Gage was catching him. Like, he actually got alongside him briefly. Unfortunately, the next corner, he spun out. So that was kind of a bummer. But he had a really good run. I know he's had some really good runs down in Houston from what I've seen from results, too. And I know Gage hasn't had a ton of experience in the sprint cars, but that was fun to see as well. So Mark Dobmeyer ended up with a feature win in front of the 2 Omdals, Zach and Nick, for Friday night's action. And the rain kind of came in right after that, and they weren't able to get the makeup feature into the Midwest Mods. So we were out of there pretty quickly. So that was Friday night's action. Saturday, we've already gone over the frustrations of that. Nothing happened in the state of Minnesota, and so I was very frustrated on the way home. Sunday, went back to the Granite City Motor Park for the Street Stock Tour. They got wiped out weather-wise for the weekend until Sunday. Nice, beautiful, sunny day. It was actually pretty warm and very good turnout of street stocks, 28 street stocks on hand. So very, very pleased with the showing there. They had Midwest Mods, Late Models, Modifieds, and Hornets on tap as well, with the Midwest Modifieds kicking it off. Very good race. Clean and green, no cautions, and it was the best race of the night. Let me repeat that. The Midwest Modifieds went clean and green and had the best race of the night. Just saying that for some of the doubters out there.
Yeah, Becca.
Anyways, big shout out to Corey Merworth in the 27, who started 7th. I believe he started 7th, was mired back about 4 seconds back with about 10 laps to go. He found the high side before anyone, and he was knocking out like 5 to 6 tenths of a second per lap. And he tracked down the front 4, which includes Ashton Schulte, national champion Zach Benson, national champion Jake Smith. We just passed them all like they were standing still. So that was a very fantastic race by Corey Merritt to get the win there. Late models went to the 7A as Shane Sabraski. He pretty much was untouchable, and he's nearing the 900 win mark, and so I'm sure he'll be crossing that bridge here pretty soon before the season's out. Then the street stocks took to the track. Again, 28 on hand. We started 24. Definitely a lot of action, a lot of bumper car action in that race too. But in the end, it was Colton Brower, Colt 34, getting his first career street stock tour win in front of Kyle Anderson in the 59, and Jeff Ekdahl, who also had a great run in 3rd. Minnesota Modifieds, Shane Sabraski once again gets the win there. Don Eichens put up a good fight, but Don kind of made a mistake, kind of hit a rut, and kind of lost several positions late in the race. And so Shane cruised on to a comfortable win there. And in the Wissota Hornets, Jenna Hageman got her first win of 2024 by claiming the Hornet victory. And so that was your night over at the Granite City Motor Park. And that was their first race that they've had in probably about a month, with monster trucks and weather. Definitely been a rough stretch for them, but nice to see that they had a really good turnout of cars. They had like 84 cars there. And so definitely a good turnout for Granite City. And the track was pretty good, especially with the rain they've had over the last week. So that's this week's Track Packer Report. Did have a fan question of the week. Want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Jerry Lee, who's Haley Dykoff's dad. He listens to us every week, and so definitely appreciate the support there. He and I were kind of talking in the pits at Granite City because we've had a lot of double headers for like the tours and stuff, and kind of wanted to know our thoughts on if that's kind of the direction like racing should go, with like double headers and kind of tracks working together to kind of like trade off weekends, where one track does a double header one weekend and then the following weekend another track does a double header. What are your guys' thoughts? Because I know a lot of times, sometimes the tough part is getting tracks to work together, but what are your initial thoughts as far as it comes to that?
Go ahead, Becca.
I think it's great when racetracks do work together. I think some tracks do a better job of working with other racetracks, to whether it's taking a class off so that that class can do a special at another racetrack, or taking an entire weekend off so that another track can have that double header that we're talking about, and then maybe vice versa, that that other track can take a weekend off, so and they can take a week, have a double header. I think it's great. I think there's tracks that do a really nice job working with other tracks better than others, and I think there's some tracks that do a really poor job of working with other racetracks and kind of just do their own thing no matter what other people or tracks think. So I like to see when tracks work together. I think it makes racing stronger. That way you're not having cars having to choose where they want to go race, or it just when tracks work together, it just makes racing stronger as a whole.
What are your thoughts, Jessup?
Well, I believe that was an incredibly PC answer with no exact answer behind what the question was. So, way to go, Becca. You are now a politician.
I have strong feelings about this, but I was keeping it very PC because I'm kind of, as Mason and I had a private conversation earlier this week, he knows how I feel. So
That's nice.
yeah.
No one invited me to the conversation. You guys got extra time to practice these questions, and I don't even get a warm up. I would say I am not a fan of double headers.
You'd know.
Push, Becca, you had your chance, politician. If this was the CNN debate, you would be muted by now. Anyways, I'm not a big fan of double headers like this. I like one night's and done, and then you can move on to the next track personally. From a racer perspective, I'm sure racers would absolutely love if all racing went this way, because then they could only focus on one setup or one set of gears and have to make minimal adjustments, and then they can stay at the track versus having to travel from track to track. As a fan, not a fan of them. I don't mind them, but I I don't like being at one place a lot over and over. Now that there are a couple exceptions, like end of the year invitationals, I think that part is good, but for a full season, I'll pass. No thanks.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with Jessup on a couple of different things too, just because I'm one that likes to get to as many different tracks as I can. So a lot of times double headers kind of take away a night where I'm like, shoot, I could have gone somewhere else. And it's like, well, it is fun in one aspect because you kind of get to stay in the same place. You get to maybe get to hang out more that first night and spend some time with friends at the racetrack. And so that part is fun, but I personally enjoy kind of like venturing to different places just as a more of a fan. As a driver, can totally understand it. I do think though that having more like weeks off, like giving like a racetrack a week off, like especially if you kind of work with other tracks too, like every other week. So like if you're like a Friday track, for example, and you're like nearby with another Friday track and you switch off weekends, you at least give your drivers a chance to, if they want to take a full break or take a full week off, they can. If they want to try out a different track, they can. And it also doesn't burn out your workers and volunteers, because that's a big thing that probably gets overlooked, especially as the season goes further and further into July and August. That burnout starts to get very, very easy to hit.
It also, when I would agree with Jessup, I'm not super crazy about double headers in the middle of the racing season. Maybe at the beginning, maybe near the end, and then obviously your invitational season. I can definitely get behind that concept more. But definitely, if I do know there's a handful of tracks that do double headers in the middle of the season, and so if tracks are working together, that gives racetracks the opportunity to, let's say, a racetrack A takes off a certain car class so that that car class can go run a double header or a racing special elsewhere. That gives the racetrack the option to maybe bring in a different car class that they typically wouldn't see at their track, or it just makes for an maybe they don't bring in another class, maybe they just make it a shorter night, because I think there are some tracks that might struggle with time frames or racing short racing programs, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what some racetracks like to do, and that's fine. Whatever floats their boat. But I think when tracks do work together like that, it allows racetracks to maybe bring in something new and different, and give something refreshing to the fans in the stands, or make it an overall shorter night, so to allow those fans to go into the pits at an earlier time to meet drivers and hang out after the races. And it's I think it's refreshing and different and nice sometimes when that kind of stuff can work out like that. And like you said, Mason, sometimes it's nice to have that week off. As someone who volunteers, I can get behind that. I know that for firsthand.
Yeah, definitely some interesting thoughts. And yeah, the more I think about it, especially the middle of the season, it's like doubleheaders kind of feel a little more out of place in a
Yes.
sense. But I mean, there's obviously like the big marquee events, like for example, the Dakota Rumble down in Aberdeen. That's a big one where it's like, several tracks kind of take off late model, so that way they can kind of go and attend that event, because that's a well-known, prestigious event, and especially when you get towards the end of the season, there's more and more of those. And so, yeah, those are some really good thoughts, and kind of it's interesting to gauge because we're more on the fan side. I'm sure drivers are just like double headers, because I'm sure the less work they have to do to change gears and everything, like Jessup mentioned, the less stressful it is for them.
Or if you tear up your car at one track, you don't have to stay up all night to fix it, then travel to the next track. You can just fix it at one place, and you don't have to pack up and load up and hit the road kind of thing. So,
yep, totally agree. Well, thank you, Jerry, for that fan question. Appreciate you listening as always. And so now we move on into what's upcoming next for racing in the state of North Dakota with Mr. Dakota Dirt. This would be a very good time for John to waltz his way in here. He's apparently very close to coming in, but maybe we'll wait like a minute or two, and as soon as he comes in, and be like, you have to do the Dakota Dirt ad.
I'm stalling.
You're stalling.
So anyways, Mason, I've stalled long enough.
Alrighty, well, Mr. Dakota Dirt, we'll insert an old Dakota Dirt ad, so go ahead.
Anybody wants any type of racing news from North Dakota, but I'm not just talking news, I'm talking results, recaps, weather forecasts, much more information on their Facebook page as well as their website, which is dakotadirt.org, or they are social on social media platforms. Check out your one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing results and news and much more. Again, that is Dakota Dirt.
You want me to go now?
Yes, go ahead.
Now? Okay, I'll go now. All right. Well, it's a busy week of racing here in North Dakota. Hopefully, weather holds off in the later part of the week. On the 27th is Issac racing at the Tri-County Speedway. The 28th it has a bevy of tracks racing, as Williston is scheduled to race, along with River Cities and Dakota Speedway. I know Dakota Speedway is having the Night of the Legends, and they are also hosting night one of the Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Series. It's going to be a good night of racing there. A lot of cars will be in the pits, and with the Red River Valley Speedway having the fair taking place now, I bet we see a lot of at least legends coming over. But I'd also say we'll probably get a couple stock cars heading over this way as well. Going into Saturday, another busy night of racing. The Devil's Lake Speedway will be racing along with Williston Basin again, and Thunder Mountain and Southwest Speedway. And the weekend closes out with Nodak Speedway racing as well. So that's what North Dakota is looking like right now. Mason, I know that out west, our friends are on the western part of the states are having some really, really big modified racing events out there. They got the Midwest Mod Summer Showdown over at Sheridan Speedway, and then I believe it is Gallatin is having the Montana Modified Nationals out there as well. Both are 10,000 to win. Well, take that back. Montana is 5,000 to win IMCA mods, and they have a crazy payout. Let me pull this up. Montana, as I pull my Western Roundup notepad. Needless to say, first place at Gallatin for the IMCA mods is 5,000 to win. Really good payout. Second place, 3,000 to win. Really good payout. Third place is 2,000, and then we weren't sure, Mason and I, if it's 4th through 10th is 1,000, or if it's just randomly 10th place is 1,000. But it is 400 to start the feature out there. So really big IMCA mod show. And then, as we were saying, Big Sky's got, not Big Sky, Sheridan has the Midwest Modified Summer Showdown, and we were talking about it earlier on the Western Roundup. They've got a crazy payout here. This is insane. If you're a Wissota Midwest mod driver, you would be foolish to try to pass this event up. First place, 10,000 to win. Okay, we've seen that before, but this is where it gets a little wild. Second place, 7,500 to win, or not to win, for second. Third place, 5,000. Fourth place, 3,000. Fifth place, 2,000. Sixth place, 1,000. Seventh, 750. Eighth, 600. Ninth, 500. 10th, 400. And it's 300 to start. And that's just the end-all feature, right? The final feature for the Midwest mods that night, or on the final night. They've got a practice night, and why I'm putting a little emphasis behind this practice night is most times when you got a bigger show, you get a practice night that Thursday night before for the out-of-towners to try to figure out what the track, the gear, and the setup. So they get a decent chance at being successful. Usually that's all they get is just one night of practice. Not in this case. It's Thursday night, it's a practice night, and at the end of Thursday, they are having dash racing. And what's cool about it is for a dash, it is 300 to win each dash, 225 for second, 175 for third, 125 for fourth, and $100 for fifth. So there's not a lot of dashes that throw out that type of money that I know of. And I'm not saying I'm knowledgeable on every race and every dash and stuff like that, but I have a pretty decent idea of what a lot of practice nights and dashes look like, and it's usually not like this. Thursday night concludes with a free barbecue pig roast for any driver, any pit crew, any family member, any spectator that pays to go watch. So a really cool deal there for them.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big show out west in Sheridan. It's definitely gonna be keeping an eye on that this weekend. Like Justin said, a lot of money being thrown out. Other than that, there's quite a bit of racing taking place outside the state of North Dakota. I-94 is hosting the World of Outlaw Late Models on Thursday the 27th. That's always a fun show to be had. KRA Speedway is running as usual, and Victory Lane Speedway up in Winnipeg is going to have their first Thursday show of 2024. Brown County Speedway on Friday, I believe, has the Nosa Sprint Cars on tap. So they will have a fun show down there in Aberdeen. I-94 is running a regular show on Friday as well, and Red Cedar Speedway is also running. Saturday the 29th, we have Madison Speedway back in action. The Norman County Raceway has the World of Outlaw Late Models for the very first time there. Very highly anticipated show over there. North Central Speedway, Rice Lake, and Viking Speedway also running. And then to finish out the weekend on the 30th, Bemidji Speedway Buffalo River Speedway, Casino Speedway, which is also hosting the NOSA Sprint Cars and the MSTS 360 Series, and the Granite City Motor Park running as well. So definitely a lot of action taking place this weekend. One thing to highlight for North Dakota racing, it's the championship night at Nodak Speedway. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. There's a couple classes that have some pretty tight points battles. So that'll definitely be another race to keep your eye on as well. I don't know what happened to John, but we will display the white. We will display the white flag as the race must continue. I think he pulled out onto the track and then pulled back into the pits. But we'll want to give a shout out to our good friend Brody Carlsrud in the B1 IMCA stock car, which actually the day we're recording this is his birthday. So happy birthday, Brody. Definitely is on the right track as far as getting his car ready for the tour. He's very excited to do that once again. And be sure to go check out his podcast, The Real Deal with B1. I don't think he's had a show as of late, but I think it'll be coming out pretty soon with the way the schedule lines up. And so thank you for supporting us on the podcast, Mr. Brody. Why are you waving a black flag, Jessup?
I am giving John the black flag. He did not start the feature in time and tried to pull out onto the podcast as the race was already under green and laps have been finished, or segments in our case have been completed. So John will receive the black flag tonight, and he has made his way back pit side.
He didn't keep pace.
No, it's like he was there and he was gone.
He will not qualify for a start and park. He will just be parked.
Well, if he appears, we'll be interested to see if he reappears. Becca, since I know it's getting a little late for you, I'll let you go first for wins of the week.
Thank you, Mason. It is getting late and I'm tired. So my first win of the week goes to Maria Brotzik. She picked up. Thank you. Sorry, I'm tired. Reading.
No, we will. I do not. No.
Stop it, you. I'm tired. She picked up a thrilling victory down at the Casino Speedway on Sunday night. If you race fans have not seen or heard about this race, definitely go take a peek of it on Dirt Race Central. But basically, on the very last lap, it was quite the battle for the win between Andy Rosso and Braden Brower. Braden Brower threw one Hail Mary of a last corner pass on Andy Rosso. I think Andy was also expecting it, so he drove his car into 3 and 4 pretty hard himself, and they both drifted up the track, which left the bottom and the middle lanes wide open for third place Maria just to go for the win, and that's what she did. A little contact coming to the finish line, but Maria was the driver who crossed the finish line first, and there was a fantastic battle for the win. Definitely go check out the finish if you haven't seen it, but congratulations, Maria, on picking up the win at Casino Speedway. My second win of the week goes to Lily Christensen. She is the daughter of IMCA modified driver Drew Christensen. She's been racing sport compacts for about 2 or 3 years now, and she picked up her very first heat race win up at the Nodak Speedway, ran a very good, clean, smooth heat race, and picked up her very first heat race of her racing career. So that's a big deal for a youngster. So congratulations, Lily, on your very first heat race win. And then my third and final win of the week goes to Kyler Satrin. He went up to the Estevan Motor Speedway on Saturday night and broke a tranny in his heat race, which caused a melee in corners 1 and 2. They thrashed and put all sorts of new parts and pieces on that 22 machine and pulled into the Nodak Speedway on Sunday, the following day. And he parked it in victory lane. So the hard work paid off. Congratulations, Kyler, on the victory, especially after wrecking all sorts of things the night before. But congratulations, Kyler, on picking up the win at the Nodak Speedway.
Excellent set of wins, Becca. Definitely well-deserving wins of the week. Jessup, you can go next.
Well, I've got a couple themes here in my wins of this week. We're going to call them the double down theme here. So my first one's going to go to Mr. Mark Dobmeyer for doubling down over at River Cities. and taken not one, but two NOSA 410 Sprint feature wins. It's kind of cool to see that happen. He's had kind of like a rough go at racing the last couple of years, and he's had some really bad wrecks. So whenever I see him get going again and having some good luck, I'm pretty thrilled for him. So that's my first winner of the week. Second one's going to go to Robbie Roselli as he picked up wins up at not Thunder Bay, Estevan. I caught myself.
You caught yourself.
I don't know why I'm thinking Thunder Bay, but he picked up the IMCA Sport Mod feature win up in Estevan, and then he also backed it up the following night over at the Nodak Speedway as well. And finally, my last one is a double down, kind of a family double down, as I believe Cody and Kyle Schulp picked up feature wins this week up at Estevan as well. So it's a double down theme for me, and it's kind of a fun little weekend of racing for all those guys.
Very good set of wins. I'm glad I just added one more because he took actually one of mine.
Which one did I take?
Yeah, Kyle Schulp. I had him on my list.
Ha.
Yep. So my wins of the week. First one, I'm going to give it out to the Midwest Mod drivers at River Cities because with the short turnaround time they had between the heat and the main, they were kind of actually helping each other out, kind of get them all the tires on the car because a lot of them have like tires and stuff off the car, trying to make setup changes, and it's like it was just chaos to trying to get everyone out there in time on the track. And so, yeah, good job to all the Midwest Mod drivers for making it back out on the track and for those that helped one another out to get to that point. My second win kind of goes to a double down driver, but he did 2 wins in the same night. It goes to Tony Colnold. He drives the 15 Minnesota Modified down at Casino Speedway. They had a makeup feature for the mods, won that, and then he also won the normal feature later on in the night. So 2 wins in one night, not bad, especially in the same class, and very tough class to win as well. And then my third win of the week, back up to River City Speedway. Gotta give a shout out to Zach Omdahl in the 17 sprint car. He finished second. That's his best career finish in the NOSA 410 sprint cars, and he looked pretty good throughout the entirety of the race. Was running a nice clean race in the top 5. When Gage spun out of second, that he entered to that spot and held on to that all the way to the end. And so those are our wins of the week. And my suspicions were correct. Being in a hotel, John's connection is unstable. It sounds like we have electrical issues for the John Breckle machine. So unfortunately, he will be a DNS for this podcast.
Oh, please. He could have used his data on his phone.
Let's be honest. John's down partying in the hotel lobby and lounge.
He is kind of a wild card. So
he is. I bet he's at a bowling alley now.
If it was Vegas, I'd say yes. Denver, probably not.
Why? Are the lanes not good enough?
No, they're just
the air too thin for the ball to catch and curl back.
Anyways. Oh, did we have any closing thoughts?
Yes.
What do you have, Becca?
Just to touch on it very briefly, but this Friday at Dakota Speedway is the night 1 of the Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Challenge. So we'd love to see all of our North Dakota bombers, pure stocks, hobby stocks come on out, support this great tour in honor and in memory of Mary Vetter, who we lost too soon. So definitely come support that. It's also in conjunction with the Night of the Legends, which is a really cool breakdown race where we divide our legends into their divisional car classes. So there'll be the Young Lions and semi-pros racing against just other Young Lions and semi-pros. And then it'll also be the pros, masters, and golden masters racing in another feature race together. So the driver who finishes the best, so obviously your overall feature winner, but the next division first place driver, they each get $1,000 to win. So pretty cool race. Fargo's not racing. They also bring in a lot of legends on their weekly and big special shows. So we'd love to see a lot of legends at Dakota Speedway supporting the Night of the Legends, as well as the Mary Vetter Hobby Stock Challenge.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Mason. I'm just gonna throw this out there. But I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot of cars.
You're probably right. And I know a lot of them have been itching to race because a lot of them haven't raced a ton in the last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one last closing note. Back to No Speedway. The 2 points battles you have to watch are the hobby stocks. 3 points separate Brenner Grinstead from Kyler Saturn, who's the current leader there. And in the stock cars, we have a tie right now with Gabe Deshaw and Kyle Schulp. 1 point back is Mike Hagan, and 2 points back is Will Shareski. So we have 4 drivers within 2 points.
Pretty crazy that it's championship weekend at the Nodex Speedway, but I think their schedule is pretty cool. And I think you're going to see a lot of really cool racing on the docket for the rest of this season for the Nodex Speedway.
Absolutely. So definitely some good racing to check out this weekend, whether on a national level or just on a local level. Definitely head out to the track this weekend. Any closing thoughts from you, Jessup?
No. Becca's tired. We need to end this.
Agreed.
Sounds good. Well, that'll do it for episode 15 of season 3 for the Track Packers podcast. As always, be sure to like, share, and follow, whether it's on Facebook or watching on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Google, and Apple if you are a listener, and be sure to give us a 5-star review. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness, Brody Carlsrud in the B1, and Isaac Hot Sauce Sondrol. Hopefully, Mother Nature gives us a break and we can get some racing in. And if so, we will see you out there packing the track.